At the age of 73, Alvin made a daring decision. He resolved to embark on a wild adventure, driving a dilapidated lawnmower for 400 kilometers to visit his long-lost brother, whom he hadn't seen in a decade. Despite his friend's belief that he had gone mad, Alvin's determination remained steadfast. His decision was fueled by his brother's recent stroke, as this could very well be their last meeting. The little vehicle dragged along with heavy luggage, moving slowly on an endless road. However, after just 5 kilometers, a speeding truck passed by, carrying Alvin's hat away in the wind. Alvin struggled to disembark, leaning on his cane to retrieve his hat. For a patient with a damaged pelvic bone, such a simple task nearly jeopardized his life. The journey ahead was bound to be filled with challenges. Undeterred, Alvin had no choice but to flag down a passing bus after his lawnmower proved unable to proceed any further. He shared his ordeal with the kind-hearted driver, who agreed to take him part of the way. They then arranged for someone in the next town to bring the lawnmower back home. Upon witnessing Alvin's return after just half a day's outing, his friends expressed their admiration and concern.
Well.
Yet, Alvin's determination remained unshaken. When he got home, he brought out an old hunting gun that had not been used for years. He figured that one must let go of the old to make way for the new. Subsequently, at the agricultural vehicles selling center, he haggled with the manager and purchased a second-hand lawnmower from the 1960s for $300. Once again, his daughter helplessly watched her father depart. This time, Alvin took precautions and secured his hat whenever a large truck approached. When tired, he would park the vehicle by the roadside, gather some wood with pliers, and light a campfire in the glow of the setting sun. Occasionally, he indulged in a cigar, finding solace in the midst of toil. One day, Alvin encountered a hitchhiking girl while on his journey. Despite the car in front not stopping, Alvin warmly greeted her. However, it was apparent that the girl had no interest in riding in his beat-up vehicle. As night fell, Alvin lit the campfire as usual. The girl, who had failed to catch a ride, approached, and the two struck up a conversation about their respective lives. The girl confided in Alvin, sharing that she was unexpectedly 5 months pregnant and had been avoiding her family's reproach by wandering outside. Alvin shared the blanket with her and said, "They might be angered, but not to the extent of losing you. I have 14 kids, and I used to play stick folding with them all the time. A single stick is easily broken, but when bound together as a bundle, it becomes much harder to break. During those times, I imparted to them the strength of family unity." After saying this, he willingly gave up his seat in the car for the girl, allowing her to rest in the back compartment. However, she merely expressed gratitude for the kind gesture, as she preferred to sleep outside under the starry sky. The next day, when Alvin woke up, the girl had already left. He felt comforted seeing the neatly tied firewood on the ground, knowing that she had chosen to return to her family. Continuing on his journey, he encountered unforeseen events as sudden thunder signaled an impending downpour. Before leaving, he hadn't anticipated rain during this season. Amidst mixed emotions, a house appeared before him. His newly purchased lawnmower proved reliable as it easily climbed a small hill. To his good fortune, just as he parked the vehicle inside, the rain intensified. At that moment, he lit a cigar, finding solace within the shelter as the wind and rain raged outside. After the rain subsided, the vast wheat fields glistened magnificently in the glow of the setting sun, creating a picturesque silhouette of Alvin and his little car. As he continued driving, he passed by numerous young cyclists, their vibrant energy seemingly contagious. Alvin's eyes sparkled with excitement. If not for his advanced age, he would have undoubtedly joined their ranks. In the evening, he reached the camping site of the cycling group. The young people warmly welcomed the arrival of the elderly man with applause. They quickly got acquainted with Alvin, who couldn't help but express his awe at how time flies. A young man nearby comforted him, saying that there are advantages to growing old. Indeed, Alvin thought, at this age, one has seen it all.
What's the worst part about being old, Alvin?
Well, the worst part of being old is remembering when you was young.
In his eyes, there flickered a calmness in confronting the world and a sense of reluctance to grow old, just as Alvin had mentioned, having witnessed both the good and the bad in life. Some large trucks passing by would kindly slow down in his presence, while some fast-driving cars would pose a potential risk due to their excessive speed. Alvin, leaning on his cane, approached a scene where a woman had accidentally hit a deer. He kindly inquired if she needed any assistance, but the woman broke down and began incessantly talking. In the past 7 weeks, she had tragically collided with 13 young deer despite using her headlights, honking frantically, and even blasting loud music inside her car as a warning.
And I have to drive down this road every day 40 miles to work and I have to drive home.
Actually, she was merely venting the pent-up pressure from her monotonous life. Alvin chose not to say much more after this revelation. The woman finished her emotional outburst and forcefully closed the car door. She had to continue facing her unchanging life. For Alvin, however, some things had changed. Tonight, he would have venison for dinner. Moreover, his plain little car would now have some embellishments. Ahead, there was a house on fire in a small town. The onlookers were idly watching the firefighters extinguish the flames. Unaware of the warning for a downhill slope, Alvin suddenly found his lawnmower uncontrollable, and braking became too late. In a panic, he struggled to control the steering wheel. The spectators also noticed the lawnmower at this moment, causing Alvin to become flustered. Luckily, he managed to change direction and drove into a sandy area, bringing the vehicle to a stop just before hitting the burning house. As people gathered around, his soul seemed to have been startled and had yet to return to its place. Speaking breathlessly and incoherently, he realized he had nearly lost his life. Thankfully, a kind-hearted man named Danny, along with others, pushed the lawnmower into his backyard and offered to repair it for Alvin. Curiosity abounded, and they wondered where he was heading next. Alvin mentioned that he intends to journey to Mount Zion in Wisconsin, a place located 60 kilometers away from the town. The route involves traversing many mountainous roads and crossing the Mississippi River. When asked why he wouldn't drive, Alvin explained that he lacks a driver's license, and his diabetes has impaired his vision, making it impossible for him to operate such a vehicle. Curiosity arose among the others about how long Evan had been traveling. Upon hearing that it was already October 8th, he realized that he had been on the journey for 5 weeks. The woman asked Alvin, "Aren't you afraid to be by yourself?"
Well, ma'am, I fought in the trenches in World War II. Why should I be scared of an Iowa cornfield?
Because the repairs will take some time. Danny invites Alvin to stay in his garage where he can take a hot shower. The next day, when Alvin opened his wallet and saw only $5 left, he knew it would not cover the repair expenses for his vehicle. Consequently, he approached Danny and asked to borrow his telephone. However, Alvin preferred not to disturb Danny too much, so he falsely claimed that he merely wished to reassure his daughter of his safety. In reality, he made the call to ask his daughter to send him his Social Security check to cover the repair costs. Danny, being aware of Alvin's financial situation, understood his predicament. Danny told his wife that Alvin's arrival at their place was already a miracle, and the upcoming journey would undoubtedly be even more challenging. His wife caught the implication and suggested that Danny drive Alvin a portion of the way, as it would only take half a day. After making the phone call, Alvin put away $3 as payment for the call. Danny approached him and shared his thoughts about driving him part of the way.
Well, I appreciate that, but I want to finish this one my own way.
A lot of hills bigger than Claremont's between here and Zion. I mean, even if you get that mower running again, there's no guarantee it won't break down.
Well, you're a kind man talking to a stubborn man. I still want to finish this the way I started.
Despite Danny's efforts to persuade him, Alvin remained resolute in continuing his journey on foot. An old man his own age approached Alvin and invited him for a drink. Although Alvin had been sober for many years, he accepted their gesture and replaced the drink with milk as a sign of appreciation. The elderly man revealed that he, too, had participated in World War II and explained how many veterans resorted to excessive drinking to cope with the grief of losing comrades on the battlefield. He choked back tears while recounting the traumatic experiences that haunted him even after all these years. Alvin understood this pain more than anyone else, as he himself carried the weight of such lingering anguish. This night, he found it difficult to find tranquility as his thoughts remained restless. Life is impermanent, while the timeless expanse of the starry sky remains constant. After a few days, the twin brothers in the town successfully repaired the lawnmower, charging $247 for the service. With Danny's assistance, Alvin managed to negotiate the price down to $187. He then imparted some wisdom to the bickering brothers, emphasizing that no one understands you better than a sibling of similar age, and some words spoken cannot be taken back. On the night before their parting, Danny reluctantly suggested that he drive Alvin a part of the way. However, Alvin stated that he intended to start his journey very early. He then took off his hat and earnestly thanked the kind-hearted stranger. The next morning, as the sun was rising, Danny was there to bid farewell to Alvin. Perhaps the most beautiful scenery is not what meets the eye, but the genuine kindness radiating from people's hearts, driving Alvin's spirits. Alvin joyfully reached the Mississippi River, finding that the bridge had undergone a significant transformation over the years. Moreover, the distance between him and his brother was drawing closer. That evening, he camped in a cemetery, catching the attention of a distant pastor who noticed the food by the campfire. Engaging in conversation, the pastor revealed that he knew Alvin's brother, as he had stayed in the pastor's parish while recovering from a stroke. Alvin had never mentioned having a brother before. Alvin remarked that they hadn't been true brothers for 10 years now. In their youth, they were inseparable, sharing secrets and daydreaming together. Once, they were the closest of friends, but alcohol-induced impulses caused them to clash. However, as he reflected on their animosity, Alvin realized that whatever had caused their rift no longer mattered. At that moment, all he yearned for was to sit with his brother once more, gazing at the stars just like they used to. What conflict could outweigh the significance of being separated by life and death? The following day, Alvin finally arrived at the small town where his brother lived. Before that, there was one more task to complete. Despite his many years of sobriety, today required a single drink. After obtaining the specific address from the innkeeper, Alvin smoothly found his way there. It was a humble and dilapidated house. Leaning on his cane, he approached, but it was unclear how much time had passed.
Lyle? Lyle?
Alvin!
Although they hadn't met, Lyle recognized his voice. After countless trials and tribulations, Alvin finally reunited with his long-lost brother. Both men, now in their old age, relied on walking aids. They seemed to have 1,000 things to say, yet everything melted into the silence that accompanied their gaze. After sitting down together, they remained silent while still exchanging profound glances. Lyle turned his head and noticed his brother's little car.
Did you ride that thing all the way out here to see me?
I did, Lyle.
His eyes moistening with tears, the impulsive actions, the senseless pride that had dominated their lives, all seemed so insignificant compared to the bonds of affection as they approached life's end. Raising their heads to look at the starry sky, it remained as brilliant as it was in their childhood.